Pura finds Jar Oil for illegal construction and operating petrol station. Another lockdown will hamper President Barrow's chances of winning elections, says APRC deputy spokesperson. Citizen Alliance calls on IEC to explain voter registration postponement. These and more coming on Gambia24. Good evening, you're watching Gambia24 News with me, Mariama Cham. Thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. The Gambia Public Utility Regulatory Authority, PURA, has fined Jar Oil at least $900,000 for illegally constructing and operating petrol stations following directives relating to the suitability of the identified sites. PURA said Jar Oil Company Limited has deliberately and recklessly violated applicable laws by failing to comply with the legal requirements of obtaining a construction permit and refusing to comply with the authorities' directives. Jar Oil is expected to pay the fines within 14 days from the date of receiving the notice from PURA as provided for in Section 15, Subsection 2 of the Enforcement Regulations 2010. PURA adds that failure to comply shall result in the commencement of criminal prosecution against Jar Oil. The rest of the story will be aired in our subsequent news bulletin. Now, as the most talked about deadly UK COVID-19 variant is making the rounds in the world, especially Europe, the Minister of Health on Thursday discloses that the new UK COVID-19 variant has entered in the Gambia. This variant, according to health experts, it is more dangerous than the first phase of the pandemic. Fatmata Kasim reports.
Multiple COVID-19 variants are circulating globally. In the United Kingdom, a new variant has emerged with an unusual large number of mutations. This variant seems to spread more easily and quickly than other variants, and there is no evidence that currently shows it causes more severe illness or increased risk of death. As the Gambia recorded its first case of the variant from UK, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate, said the country has outlined strategies to deal with any eventualities.
Some countries that thought they didn't have the other variants before, after sequencing older samples, realized that actually it was there because they were not sequencing. So that has brought us to the point of sequencing. And our sequencing has revealed that already we have gotten 2 UK variants in country for the information of the honorable members. As we speak, we have been notified of the presence of 2 UK variants in the country now. However, we are delighted to say they have been picked up early. They were one of those who were tested on arrival. And then one of them was symptomatic, and they realized that what was actually infected by a person who came from the UK. So both the person who came from the UK and the index symptomatic cases are under our people in custody, and they are receiving attention.
Gambians for the last 2 months have not been volunteering for testing, which has resulted to low turn of cases in the country between August and November. Dr. Samate also urges the public to come for testing as it incurs no cost.
The single honorable members testing has been free in the Gambia for all this period. There has been, many people have been saying that is not sustainable. Of course, partly it was free. Most of the items we got were donations at the beginning when we were starting the testing from the Jack Ma Foundation, from the Chinese government, and from WHO and other partners. So sometimes when partners donate, they don't want you to charge for what they have given for free. But also, of course, we want, as our strategy, to capture as many people as possible. We wanted to encourage more people to come to test. So we said, if you put a charge on that, naturally you will be discouraging people, and most of our people cannot afford to. So now the thinking is that for general testing of people it continues to be free. But for people who are traveling out of the country, who will require a certificate, that a cost is put on that for sustainability, because we are saying that all countries in the world are actually charging.
Public health officials are studying the new variants to learn how to control its spread in the Gambia. Accordingly, they want to understand whether the variants respond to medicine currently being used to treat people for COVID-19. The new COVID-19 variant found in the Gambia has been also confirmed in different countries in Africa. For iAfrica TV, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
The deadly UK COVID-19 variant entered the Gambia, as Health Minister confirmed to the National Assembly Select Committee on Health on Thursday. Now, during Citizens Alliance's monthly press conference, the standard bearer, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, called on the Independent Electoral Commission (IEC) to explain the postponement for the voter registration. The Electoral Commission earlier this month announced the postponement of the voter registration, which was supposed to kickstart this month, citing logistics issues. Ceesay reports.
Barely a week after the Independent Electoral Commission announced the postponement of the voter registration in the Gambia, ahead of the much talked about presidential polls in December 2021. Speaking at the party's monthly press conference, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay said they had earlier challenged the IEC to explain the logistical challenges that led to the postponement, as well as to present a realistic timetable to replace the previous one.
When we received a letter from the IEC that it was postponed indefinitely due to logistical challenges, we came out to challenge the IEC on two things. That they should tell us what these logistical challenges are, because we believe that we as principal stakeholders in this whole entire process should know any challenge that the IEC is facing with regards to the elections. Two, we say it is not enough for you to tell us indefinitely. We need a clear and realistic timetable to replace the previous one.
The Citizens Alliance presidential candidate said they have done their own findings about the postponement of voter registration. Ceesay alleged that the IEC wanted to single source for the procurement of materials needed for the election process.
And the findings that we have, based on our investigations, are that the IEC wanted to single source the procurement process, the procurement for the materials needed for the elections. The IEC, as usual, 2011 and 2016, they did single sourcing to one company. And in 2021, they also want to do the same single sourcing, but the Ministry of Finance said no, it has to go through a tender process so we can give chance to other companies who have the capacity and the capability to also provide this material, so that's a fair process.
Dr. Ismaila Ceesay further described elections as life and death because it is about the country's democracy, peace and security. The political science lecturer said CA's position is to urge the Independent Electoral Commission to make sure they do everything right and look at the greater interest of the nation. For iAfrica News, I am Ceesay.
Citizens Alliance Dr. Ceesay there called on the IEC to explain to Gambians reasons for postponing the voter registration. We will now take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
In the mood of pranking your friends? Change your voice and spice up your calls with AfriCell Magic Voice Service. You can choose to talk with a cartoon, a woman's or a monster's voice for only $1 per day. To activate the magic voice, call or SMS 188 or simply dial *188#. Have fun and enjoy the laughs.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back, and now to the rest of our news. The testimonies for the NIA operatives continued on Thursday, and Basiru C, a former NIA operative, told the Truth Commission that it was normal for the NIA to beat confessions out of people for crimes they have not committed. Omar Ahmed Ture has more.
Basirusi said detainees at NIA were forced to admit to crimes they didn't commit, and any reluctance on their part is usually crossed with tortures. He said the NIA does this to get what they want from the detainees.
Most of the time, we want the person to speak the truth. Maybe come. And even where the person is speaking the truth, and we don't believe. And we don't believe what he's saying to be the truth. Even if it is the truth, the command will give instructions for the person to be beaten. And sometimes that leads them to say things or admit things that they have not even done.
But is this a matter of routine at the NIA, especially with special operations?
Special operations. In our office, when you come there, what we want to know, you must say it.
Basiru said the Director General Yankuba Baji is always aware of tortures happening at NIA and sometimes ordered them by himself. He said the operatives who usually carried out the tortures do so under the influence of drugs. The debunked NIA used to be involved in investigating money laundering too. One Joko So and Abbas Jaju were apprehended in connection to this, but Joko deceived the operatives that he kept the counterfeits in suitcases in a derelict house. Basirusi explained.
Do you believe was inside that case?
Euros, dollars, pounds.
Euros, dollars, and pounds. Those were the currencies.
Foreign currencies.
Foreign currencies in 6 suitcases. So we had tried and staggered with these suitcases until we eventually put them in the vehicle. It was in the night, and when we arrived, the DG was seated and other people were seated, and we broke open the suitcases. I was thinking that time, in this night, at least, no matter how small it is, if I am going home, I'll go home better off than before.
6 inches block like 6 inches when first 6 inches block but you tell ko bem toy nga dafa gëna dis.
We broke open the suitcases, and lo and behold, inside we found 6 inches blocks which were wetted, and that made them even more heavier.
Jammeh's 22-year rule in the Gambia was marked by widespread abuses, including killings, and the NIA was notorious for these violations. Under his rule, rights and freedoms were curtailed and crossed, with ordinary citizens, government officials, opposition activists, and journalists abducted, arrested, tortured, and illegally detained by the NIA. For iAfrica TV, I'm Omar Ahmad Toure.
A witness there told the Truth Commission that it was normal to beat confessions out of people for crimes they have not committed by the notorious NIA agents. Now, Gambia has begun registering a high number of new COVID-19 infections, according to the Minister of Health recent coronavirus national situation report, which is feared could lead to another lockdown. Duduja, the deputy spokesperson of the APRC, says that imposing another lockdown will hamper President Barrow's chances of elections, which will not either stop them from having their Congress. Let's take a listen.
This latest update indicates that Gambia could be entering the second wave of the coronavirus, leaving many worried that the government will reimpose tighter restrictions immediately after the launching of the President National People's Party by the end of January. Duduja, the deputy spokesperson of the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction APRC, says President Barrow will have no chances of winning the elections if he reintroduces another lockdown. He said that APRC is ready to hold its Congress from the 12th to the 14th February 2021.
No matter what happens, we're going ahead with our Congress. It's something that the president cannot do his whims and desires, then impose on people. And it will be an advice to the president. Another lockdown will definitely hamper his chances of winning elections. Gambians were no fools. You cannot use us or treat us as immatures. I think those days are gone.
The APRC spokesperson also questioned the Minister of Health's efficiency in dealing with the pandemic, arguing that only poor people are infected and dying of COVID-19, while rich people always recovered from the pandemic.
With the health ministry, they're giving us figures. We have 20 new cases, we have 2 new cases, we have 6 new cases. What is happening with those cases when millions are being wasted into issues that the public feel is very uncalled for? Why is there so much secrecy in fighting this COVID-19? Why can't they show us what facilities they have, who are the people affected, what treatment are they receiving? And funny above all, why is it that COVID-19 doesn't kill rich people? COVID-19 ministers, governors, directors, when they are affected, they will recover, they will get well, but the poor people can die. There's something fishy in this COVID-19.
The Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction, APRC, will hold its Congress on the 12th to the 14th February 2021. With the official confirmation of the new UK COVID-19 variant in the Gambia, there are concerns as to what move the government will take to manage the situation. The former ruling APRC party said they are confident that their planned Congress will take place irrespective of what decision the government takes. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
APRC spokesperson said Barrow has no chances of winning elections if he imposes a lockdown in the country, adding that nothing will stop the APRC from holding their next Congress. That's all we have for you in today's edition of Gambia24. Join us for more news on iAfrica.tv. I was your presenter Mariama Cham. Stay tuned and have a good night.